Namaskar. I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive online training program on media literacy. You are watching us live on PM eVidya channels 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. This training program is brought to you by Central Institute of Educational Technology, that is CIET, in collaboration with Indian Institute of Mass Communication, IIMC, New Delhi. This is day 2 of the training session where the topic that we are taking up is media and information literacy, skills and competencies. If you have questions related to the displayed topic, you can always get in touch with us. Our phone number is 8800444059. We also have a specific email ID for you, that is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. And on our YouTube handle NCERT Official, you can send us your questions, your comments, your suggestions and of course your feedback. Now, since it's a training program, there is going to be an assessment on day 5 of the training session. If you wish to attempt the assessment, please make sure that you watch all our sessions very carefully. You have registered yourself for this training program, and on day 5, once the session gets over, you can get the assessment courses. For more details on the same, you can log on to CIET website. There are guidelines and instructions. If you score more than 70% in that assessment, you will be granted a certificate that can be downloaded through DIKSHA portal. And now let's move ahead in the session, and I'm going to introduce you all to my guest for today's topic, which is media and information literacy, skills and competencies under the umbrella theme of media literacy. And we are joined by Professor Anubhuti Yadav. Ma'am is professor from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. Ma'am, namaskar and very warm welcome to you.
Namaskar.
Ma'am, media literacy is something that we all need to know because we are consumers of media, we are also producers of media, and we need to stay updated and informed so that we do not spread any misinformation. And here, when we talk about skills and competencies, it's not just important for those who want to make a career in it, but I think for everybody out there, so that we understand where the content is coming from and we should get the right interpretation. Now, ma'am, request you to kindly tell us what all you will be covering in the session today and what is the importance of today's topic in this training program.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, and a very good evening to all of you, all the teachers who are connected with this particular program, and all the students of journalism and mass communication, especially like the students of Indian Institute of Mass Communication who are watching this program from Jammu, Dhenkanal, Kottayam, Amravati and Aizawl, and also from our Delhi center. So, in this particular program, we will be talking about media and information literacy, the need for media and information literacy, we need to know about this concept, and the second is like we will be talking about different skills and competencies which all of us we must acquire in today's digital age. Because if we are talking about media and information literacy, of course, like this is very important for the students who are students of journalism and mass communication, but at the same time, as you have said that it's equally applicable for every citizen. Because nowadays, like there is a lot of information, there is abundance of information, and I think each one of us should know how to access content, how to analyze content, and as you've said very rightly, like to prevent the spread of misinformation and disinformation.
That's right, ma'am. Now, ma'am, I request you to kindly go ahead with your presentation, and whatever questions we will be receiving from the audiences, we'll take them up in the end. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. So, today we'll be talking about media and information literacy, skills and competencies. So, the first and the foremost thing is that why we are talking about media and information literacy at this time. So, think about time, when we talk about the literacy, the concept of literacy, the meaning of literacy is the ability to read and write. Now, this was like valid when the entire content was available in the printed form. So, there used to be a time when we only used to have books or textbooks. So, at that point of time, yes, that was the right meaning of literacy, because most of the content was consumed in the printed format. But nowadays, when the content is available in different formats, say for example, there is a lot of content which is available in audio format, video format, there are a lot of immersive stories which are available. So at this point of time, it's not just the person need to only read and write the printed text, but they should also know how to read and write, analyze the content which is coming in different formats. So this is what we are going to talk about, and we also will discuss about what are the skills required, what are the competencies which we must have to navigate in this digital age. So the first and the foremost is that when we are talking about media messages, it's all pervasive. This is something which we discussed yesterday also. We talked about the number of media channels which we have. We talked about the newspapers. We talked about the content which is coming from different digital media platforms. So since it's all pervasive, and we are getting a lot of media content in different forms. For example, it could be news, it could be advertisements. We keep consuming content through different blogs. It could be Facebook post, it could be tweet. So since it's all pervasive, we need to know how to consume that particular content, and especially because in today's times it is available in abundance. So it is very challenging for us to find out which one is right and which one is not accurate. So finding right content and finding accurate content in itself is a huge challenge right now. So we can say that yes, in today's time with the digital media, we have democratized the media landscape, which means every individual nowadays, if they have access to smartphone, they can create content, they can disseminate that particular content. But at the same time, the challenge is that if everybody is creating that content, we don't know whether that particular content is right or wrong. So as responsible consumer of media messages, we need to figure out how to access content in a right way. So another thing is that since we are consuming a lot of content, so this means that we are living in mediated society. Lot of content coming from different directions, and all the mediated societies, they require media literate citizens so that they can navigate that particular space. And when we talk about media and information literacy, media and information literacy is an umbrella term. There are a lot of other things which comes under media and information literacy, and we'll be talking about all these concepts in our subsequent sessions, which includes information literacy, library literacy, media literacy, advertising literacy, news literacy, television literacy. So the content which is coming from different platforms, the content which is coming in different formats. So everything is part of media and information literacy. Another reason why we need to talk about media and information literacy is because this is a huge industry. So one is we need to understand how to consume media messages in a critical way, but at the same time we also need to understand that it's a huge industry and it provides a lot of opportunities for young people. Say for example, a lot of teachers are connected with this particular program. So it's very important for us to tell our students early on in life that there is this one very important career option which is available for them. Usually what happens that in media, students, they do their graduation and then post graduation, and when nothing happens, they try and join media as an industry. We want that the teachers should tell their students early on in life that this is a very good career option. And as you can see on screen, this is like 2,55,000 crore industry, huge industry, wherein you have television, you have cinema, you have radio, you have print, you have digital. And this is the first time after 20 years it has happened that the digital media is number one media platform in terms of the largest segment which we have right now in media and entertainment industry, and which has a huge scope in the sense that it has totally redefined the way content is being created, the way content is being disseminated, and the way the content is being monetized. So there's a lot of things which are happening in this particular space. Another thing which is happening is that there are new career avenues which are coming up. For example, the entire AVGC sector, wherein you have animation, visual effects, gaming, comics. So this means that the students will have a lot of career options if they are aware of this particular field. So there are two ways to look at media and information literacy. One is, of course, like they should be critical and responsible consumers of media messages, and at the same time they can use this information so that they can make informed choice about the career which they are going to pursue in future. So now another thing is, when we are talking about media and information literacy, and since like as I said before, that it's all pervasive, people are getting a lot of messages. One thing we need to accept, and a lot of researchers have said that the media messages have impact on people, on individuals, and also society. So this impact could be heavy impact or like light impact. It totally depends. Say for example, when we are talking about heavy effect of media messages, so there are certain theories which is there in the field of media and journalism. The first one is hypodermic model. We also call it magic bullet theory. According to this, the audiences, they are very passive, and whatever message that goes from media, people end up believing that particular content without questioning, without critically evaluating the messages which are coming to them. So that's one thing which talks about the heavy impact of media messages. Another theory which is cultivation theory. Now the cultivation theory says that when you're talking about media messages, and if people are exposed to different media messages for a longer period of time, so their perception of reality is cultivated by the kind of content which they are actually watching on screen. So for example, if people spend a lot of time watching violent programs, so they believe that the world is a violent place, and this is the kind of impact it can have on individuals and also like society. In fact, like if you look at something that had happened recently, for example, we had landslides, we had flash floods in different parts of our country during this rainy season, and that was the time everybody was talking about disaster, destruction, and then the whole conversation was around that particular thing. So the cultivation theory also, like, it's very important. It's talking about the heavy impact of media messages on individuals and society. Then there is a two-step model. The two-step model says that the media effects, they're mediated by the influencers or opinion leaders. So which means that whatever is coming from media, I mean, it's not just people will take it as it is. There are certain people in between, like opinion leaders. They could be politicians, they could be teachers, they could be professors. So they are the one who interpret messages and they pass it on to other people. And in today's time, when you look at the digital platforms wherein people are consuming a lot of content on these platforms, I think the influencers, they are playing a very important role as opinion leaders. There is this one of the research which says that the Gen Z nowadays, when they have to take that decision to purchase something, they are actually motivated more by the influencers rather than what the advertisements are saying or what the traditional media is saying. Then we have this theory which is agenda setting theory. Now this theory says that the media doesn't tell people what to think, but and how to think, but what to think about. For example, every morning when we have discussion on certain issues, who decide that particular issue? Obviously, like something which we might have seen previous night on television, or maybe like something which we might have read in the morning, and we make our decision in the conversations around those particular topics. So they set agenda for us. They tell us like what we should be talking about, what should be thinking about, and they make certain issues more important. And in agenda setting, there is something which is called agenda building, which means like you pick up certain things and you make it very prominent so that people start talking about it. But at the same time, there's something called agenda cutting, wherein you are actually not showing certain aspects which should be shown on television screen, and that is something which is called agenda cutting. And then when you're talking about the light effects of media messages, you have a theory like uses and gratification theory. Now, uses and gratification theory says that the audiences are active. They choose what they want to watch. They choose the channel which they would like to access content from. They choose what they have to consume in terms of the kind of content. But if you look at uses and gratification theory also in today's time, are we really doing that? Which means when we are going to YouTube to consume content, is it we who are deciding what kind of content we should be consuming, or the algorithm is deciding what kind of content we should be consuming? So in today's time, because of personalization, I think all these tech platforms, they are playing very important role in deciding the kind of content which people should be consuming. And this is something which we call personalization also, because they personalize content for us. But at the same time, people might say that it's good that they are personalizing content so that they get to see content which is relevant to them. But when the algorithm is personalizing the content, in the whole process what happens that it actually excludes a lot of other issues and important areas from your recommendation engine. So you don't get that holistic information which you should be getting as a responsible consumer of media messages. So this slide shows you the impact of media messages on individuals and society, and that's why we need to talk about media and information literacy. These are some examples of how media messages, they are impacting people. For example, this is a news story of a kid who was trying to imitate Spider-Man and fell from the bedroom window. This is like the scene from that particular site. Again, a kid dies in jump of apartment, and he was imitating video game. This is another news story wherein between fact and fantasy, wherein some kids kidnapped one of their classmates because they wanted to have some money, and they got this inspiration from one of the serials which they were watching at that point of time. Again, Bollywood thriller inspired teen to kill 2 senior citizens. So these are the cases which shows the negative impact of media messages, which means the kids, they are watching that content a lot, adolescents, they are watching that content a lot, and they are being impacted and affected by those particular media messages. But at the same time, there is positive aspect of it. So it's not every time it's only negative, and that's why we are talking about media and information literacy. For example, if you talk about Arab Spring, this is the entire movement that started in Arab countries a few years back. Social media played a very important role in this, and there were a lot of stories which came from the different part of that particular area, and that got viral. People got inspired. They were very dissatisfied with the kind of governments which were there at that point of time, and the social media played an important role, and it turned into a movement. And of course, like in some of the countries, the government was changed. The dictatorship. The people had to step down, and the new governments were formed. So there could be positive impact of this. This is a defining image of Syria war. This is the picture of one little boy. The name of the boy was Alan Kurdi. Now again, this is a picture, and the photographer who took this picture and said in one of the interview that I took this picture because I wanted the world to listen to the scream of this dead boy. And what happened after that was, this picture also, like we have seen that before on social media platform, it got viral, and the European countries, they actually opened doors for refugees post this particular picture. Again, another example of this, this is also a defining image, and the image was taken by Kevin Carter. The vulture is sitting there, and this is a picture from South Sudan. And this also talks about the one story, and the thing is that at this point of time the impact of this particular picture was that there was a lot of aid that came to Sudan when this picture appeared in the newspapers and all. So the media messages play a very important role. As I said before, it could be in certain instance which we have seen before, could be negative, but yes, it can also bring about positive changes in the society. So media and information literacy is a set of competencies that help people to maximize advantages and minimize harms of media messages. That is the whole concept of media and information literacy. Now, if you look at the definition of how do we define media and information literacy, it is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create and act using all forms of communication. And when I am saying using all forms of communication, which means that it could be your audio content, video content, text content, it could be like immersive content, so all forms of content, but it means that it's an ability to access that content. How do you get hold of that content, which is right, which is authentic, which is authoritative, analyze that content, evaluate and also create. So it's not just like consuming the content, but also creating the content in a responsible way. When we were kids, we used to have these classes on how to write essay, how to write letter. I mean, we all, and especially like those teachers who are connected with this particular program, I mean, you could recollect that. And that was the time it was necessary, because we were writing letters. But in today's time, these kids are writing Facebook post or tweet or blogs, but are they being taught how to write, or create that content in a responsible way? So this is extremely important in today's time. Now, UNESCO came out with this document, and which is Think Critically and Click Wisely. And this talks about the benefits of media literacy. So in teaching and learning processes, it equips educators with enhanced knowledge about how to critically engage with information, media and digital technologies to empower future citizens and learners. And through MIL, people can self-empower to understand the positive things that they can do through media and digital tools, thereby ensuring a better internet and contributing to information for the public good. I mentioned this before, when we talked about the impact of heavy rains in different parts of our country. So at that point of time, creating content in such a way so that it helps people. It happens, when floods came in Chennai. So at that point of time, the young techies there, they created this website wherein they listed the name of people who were ready to help, in different ways. And they actually prepared that list. They put it on the internet, and the people who were in the need of help, they were contacting, these people. So this actually can self-empower us, and it can help us to help people in the society. Then media and information literacy imparts crucial knowledge about the functions of content providers and mediators, such as libraries, archives, museums, media and digital communication companies, reasonably understanding about the conditions needed to perform those functions effectively. It's very important, whenever we watch any television program, when we read news, it's very important to figure out, how these messages are constructed. So the moment we understand, how these messages are constructed, say for example, for a news program, the reporter goes to, a one particular location or a site, collects information from there, create, that particular program, editing is being done, something is submitted in the newsroom. Sometimes, their content is accepted, sometimes the content is not accepted. So if the children and the people, if they know what goes behind that, I think it will be very helpful for them, especially like to understand how it is being created, and many a times people feel that, you know, if they have watched something on television or maybe like read something in newspaper, so which means that, you know, it is correct, or the depiction of reality. But we must understand that whosoever is creating any message, you know, all the messages, and we'll be talking about this, that they are constructed. So when someone is constructing a media messages, there will be some element of bias in that. So so that's one benefit of media literacy, that you get to know how media industry actually functions. Then MIL also helps in dealing with the cases of misinformation and disinformation. This is the problem which, you know, all of us are facing, you know, people across the world. If you look at the World Economic Forum report, and this is a global risk report, and the global risk report says that, you know, the number one risk, the short-term risk which the world is facing is misinformation and disinformation. So if people are media and information literate, you know, they will be able to figure out, you know, what is right, what is wrong, what is accurate, what is inaccurate. So it can help them in doing that. Also, when you're talking about media and information literacy, it's a prerequisite for the other forms of literacy. For example, health literacy, science literacy, financial literacy, cultural literacy, global citizen education, and education for sustainable development, because it actually strengthens the skills needed to identify and navigate beneficial and harmful information. So even if you're talking about health literacy, I think it's very important that, you know, the people should be trained in MIL first, because we know that nowadays there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation around health issues also. So if they know that what is the right way to access content which is related to health, I think that will help them in a big way. And then media and information literacy persons are more likely to reject unvalidated information, biases and stereotypes that reinforce inequalities between women and men of all ages, and discrimination towards people, religion, and etc. So that is something which, you know, media and information literate person can do, and which will lead to a better, safer and secure society. Now, there are 5 concepts in media literacy which all of us we need to understand, and I've discussed, you know, one a few seconds before. The first one is all media messages are constructed, which means if someone is creating, constructing any message, as I said before, there are chances that, you know, there will be some bias in that, right? That person is creating something, and this happens, you know, whether, you know, you're talking about newspaper or whether you're talking about you know, a television channel. When you look at, you know, any incident, you know, we don't tell everything about that. That's not possible because of the paucity of time in television and because of the paucity of space in newspaper. So what we do, we try and select something which we feel, or the reporter feel, is the most important. And in doing that, you know, that reporter or a journalist might be excluding certain things from there. So all the messages are constructed. Second point is that media messages are constructed using creative language with its own rules. And the question which you might ask is, you know, what creative techniques are used to attract my attention? And when I'm saying creative language, for example, the kind of font is being used. If we are talking about the print material, the color of the font says a lot. If you look at the television, and especially like when you switch on your television, you know, at prime time, you will see a lot of red and orange color, and that is basically to attract, you know, people's and your audience's attention. And in fact, like the shots also play a very important role, which means, you know, the kind of shot will decide, you know, the kind of character that, you know, which is there in that particular movie. So we always say that when you're talking about cinema, when you're talking about film, you know, half of the story is being told by the script which someone has written, and the other half is being told by, you know, the shots which were used and the production techniques which were used in creating that particular content. And then the third point is that the different people experience the same media messages differently. So how might different people understand this message differently from me? So it totally depends, because if there is one message or if there is a misinformation or disinformation, there are certain people who would fall for that misinformation and disinformation, but other people might critically look at that information and they say that no, this is something which is not right. And it totally depends upon the background of that person, education of that person, and here the confirmation bias also plays a very important role, because if there is some information which is coming, even if it is a misinformation, and it confirms to your biases, then you end up believing that particular content. So different people experience the same media messages in a different way. And the fourth one is, media are primarily businesses driven by profit motives. And this is something which we all need to understand. All media formats, whether we are talking about the legacy media, which means your newspaper, television, radio, cinema, or we talk about the digital media. At the end of it, they are all businesses. We might say that, okay, this digital media platform, I'm getting everything free of cost, I'm able to access this tool, or I'm able to, work on that particular tool. But at the end of it, why someone would provide you anything free of cost? So if someone is providing you anything free of cost, that means something is taken from, that particular transaction. And that is, especially like when we talk about digital media platform, most of your data, which you share with on those digital platforms, they are being, that data is being used by all these tech platforms for the for targeting advertisements, towards you. Then the fifth one is, the media have embedded values and point of views. What lifestyle, values and point of view are presented in or omitted from this message. So all the media houses, they have certain values, they have certain point of views, and we need to be aware of this. And that's why it's very important, which means like when we are consuming content, it is always good to consume content from different sources. Just don't say that, this is my favorite newspaper or favorite channel. I mean, you might like, some channel, the way they are creating content, you might like, certain anchor person. But if you really want to know the reality, I think, you need to consume content from variety of sources. Now, coming on to media and information literacy competencies. And this is like mentioned in the definitions also. The first one is, we need to know how to access content. Accessing content is very important. If you know right sources, credible sources, half of the job is done. But as I said before, there is a lot of content nowadays. Anybody can create content. If you look at a country like ours, we have around 800 million internet users, and if they want, they can also produce content, right? They are also potential, they are producers of content. So the first one is access. Second is like analyze and evaluate those messages. And when I'm saying analyze and evaluate, deconstruct those messages, try to find out different questions, which means who created this, why this message was created, who is being benefited from this particular message, what is it which is included in this message, what is it like which is omitted from this particular message. Then creating, which means creating content in a wide variety of format. And especially like this goes for the teachers who are connected with this particular program. It is very important in today's time to know how to create content in different formats, because as teachers we have understand that the students learn differently. There are certain students who are good when it comes to learning through audio. There are certain students who would like to learn from print. There are certain students who would like to learn from video. There are certain students who would like to learn by playing certain game. So as a teacher, I mean, it becomes very important for us to create content in a wide variety of form. For example, if you are a geography teacher, right? So can you create a story map using different tools which are available? or if you are a history teacher, do you know how to create different timelines? So we need to be aware of different possibilities to create content. And nowadays with artificial intelligence, things are getting easier, but at the same time AI has its own challenges also. And then comes the reflect part of it, which means we need to reflect our own behavior. How am I consuming content? Am I forwarding content without verifying that particular thing? So your own behavior, you need to reflect, how are you consuming content? Where are you consuming content from? How much time are you spending on a one particular platform? So these are the questions which you should be asking yourself, and then of course act. So it's not just that you consume content in a responsible way. Say for example, if you come across misinformation or disinformation, so what do you do with that? What action do you take? Do you just ignore that particular misinformation, or you try and verify that and then forward that particular thing? So the action is also very important in media and information literacy. And you cannot be a passive audience wherein you say that, okay, I feel that this is wrong. But what are you doing for the society, for those who might consume that particular content? So action is also a very important part of media and information literacy competencies. Now, for example, if you're talking about access, and if you are looking at any information which is related to health, and this goes for the teachers also, and this goes for all the students of communication also, that you need to know whatever area you are working on, what are those credible and authoritative sources. So as a teacher, if you are teaching history, then you need to know like what are those 20 sources from which you should be consuming content. And if you are a student of journalism or a journalist, and if you're working on certain beats, say for example if you're working on education, then you need to know like for education in India, these are the 10 websites from which you should be taking content or which you should be referring to. So for example, if you're talking about health, World Health Organization, you can take data from there. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, you can take data from there. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Indian Council of Medical Research, state health ministries or departments. So these are the places from where you should be accessing that data. But again, when you are accessing data from different platforms, you need to look at the other organizations also, other researches also, and you need to corroborate your data also. When we talk about access, it's very important to master this Boolean queries, which means, as I said, if you are able to access right sort of content, then half of your job is done. And your results, what you're getting is as good as your search query. So you should know how to search content on internet, because most of the time we are searching content on internet nowadays. So when I said mastering Boolean queries, these are all search operators. For example, if you use AND when you're searching content, if you use AND between two words, for example, in this case, NEP and science. So what it does is that it limits your result, which means you will get all those pages wherein NEP and science, both the terms were used together. And when you're talking about OR, it expands your result. For example, if I say on a search engine NEP or science, so it will give me all the results wherein either NEP or science was mentioned in those particular article. So if you want to limit, if you just want to know like what NEP says about science, so the best way of doing that is that you write NEP and science. If you want to exclude something from your result, so what you have to do is, you don't want the science subject, you're not doing research on that, and you just want to know like what NEP says, but I don't want to know about this particular subject. So you can always say NEP minus science. Parenthesis lets you combine and or researches. Say for example, I want to know about science and math subjects from two organizations. So you can give me any information, whatever I'll get, it could be science, or it can come from CBSE, or it can come from NCERT. So here what you're doing is that you are combining two and or searches. And this is like the list, which means always put and or in capital letters while you are searching the content. Use or to expand your results and to limit your results. Use quotation marks like when you are searching for anything. And if you really want to find, first-hand experiences, say for example, you are searching content related to teachers' experiences of, implementing NEP. So you go to those public pages, Facebook pages, wherein teachers are there, and use, me, my, and I to find out those, first-hand experiences. And then group similar keywords in parentheses as we've seen before, and then, check your work. And these are some of the operators which can help you in finding content, maybe like from different websites, from different links. You need to know like which domain are you finding that particular content from. So you need to know what is the meaning of .in, .edu, .org, .gov. So that makes your work much easier. And this is, say for example, if there are certain pages, if you want to find out, what is written on, public pages on mental health and children. So you just write site facebook.com pages. Obviously, you'll get, content only from the public pages and mental health and children. Then again, if you want to find out on adolescent health, so write site facebook.com/pages and then adolescent health in quotation. So also it's very important to check and verify websites. So check ownership, is it disclosed or credible? Access content, you need to know what kind of website that particular thing is. Check history of that particular website, which means when and where the site was registered. Look for the clickbaits. Sometimes, it happens, if it is just a shady website, you'll find a lot of, clickbaits and too many advertisements there. Check if any articles have been fact checked. This who is provides you contact information of domain registrar, which means if you're taking content from any website, it's very important for you to know who has registered this particular website. And then this is the last slide which I would like to tell you. This is about, Wayback Machine. For example, you would like to know about, certain content which people might have removed from their website, and it's very important for you to do your research. For the students of journalism, mass communication, if you're doing fact checking, and for the teachers also, like if you want to refer to, some content. So for that, one is archive is a good for finding deleted social media posts and accounts, which is a very important information you might have. And then Wayback Machine is also great at bringing back web content, and the Wayback Machine is an excellent platform for the research. For example, you want to see, say, we were talking about, climate change and landslides, what had happened at this point of time, during rainy season. You want to know like what different websites talked about and how they covered, such disaster in the past. So what you can do is you can go to Wayback Machine. It has a calendar there. All the pages like are indexed there. You go to a page and you will be able to see how one particular website had talked about, certain disaster in the past. So excellent platform to conduct research, excellent platform to do fact checking and verification. Many a times it happens that people put up content there on certain website and then they delete that, and you wanted to know like what that content was, and you want to show that no, this content appeared on this particular website earlier. So I think Wayback Machine can help you in doing that particular thing. So that's all from my side. So the whole point is when we are talking about media and information literacy, we need to know how to access content, we need to know how to analyze content, ask right sort of question when you are consuming that particular content, create content in a wide variety of form. There are a lot of AI tools which are available in today's time, and using which you can create audio, video in few seconds, and then of course reflect on your behavior. And then the last one is, don't stop at it just by saying that this is not the right content or this is not in good taste. Take action on that. For example, the last example which I would like to give is that many times we say that, you know, this advertisement is offensive or not in good taste, but what do we do about it? So we need to know that, okay, there is this one organization, Advertising Standard Council of India. So if you come across an ad which is in good taste, which is, you know, offensive, which you don't like, then you can always complain against that particular advertisement, you know, on ASCII. They have a form. You can track your complaint also. Similarly, for all sort of content, you know, if you're talking about print, you have Press Council of India. When you're talking about, you know, broadcast, you have National Broadcasters Association. Even like when you're talking about the content like on the digital media platform, for example, when you are reading an article, against each and every article, the result that comes, you know, there are 3 dots. If you click on those dots, you can always, you know, register your complaint there. You can, you know, say that, okay, this is something which I feel is wrong, and then you can submit your complaint there. Same goes for Facebook, same goes for Twitter. You know, against each and every post or tweet, there are 3 dots. You click on that and you can, you can file a complaint, or you can register your complaint to that particular platform. I'm not saying that, you know, the action will be taken on, you know, all the complaints which they receive. They have their own, you know, mechanism of doing that. But from our side, you know, as a responsible consumer of media messages, if we think that there is something wrong, I think, you know, we should be reporting that particular thing. And that is the most important in today's time, when a lot of content is being created and a lot of misinformation and disinformation is being created.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am, first of all, for that wonderful talk. And I think you summed up on a very good note that we do have grievances as consumers of media. So we need to have a grievance redressal system where we can go and actually lodge a complaint. Now, ma'am, since it is inevitable to escape from the media world today, even children are sometimes compelled to use the information that's out there on the internet for educational purposes only. But then, because there is no dearth of content and there is no censorship of the content, how do you think that educators, teachers, school environment can educate or guide students on how to avoid the biases or how to identify the biases and propaganda in the media messages?
See, one very important thing, you know, as a teachers, which we should be doing, one is like whatever subject is, say for example, you know, if a history teacher has given, you know, one particular assignment to its students, or maybe like, you know, geography teacher has given something to her students to work upon, then one thing is that, you know, as a teacher, we need to prepare a list of, you know, those credible sources, right? So that's a resource for our students which we'll be creating. So it's not just the content which we create them, or, you know, we teach them that, okay, this is the chapter, you know, we pick up our textbook and we start teaching that, but creating and curating those resources, right, which is available at different platforms, is also a teacher's job. So I think, you know, a list should be given to, you know, the students. But yes, you're absolutely right. Many a times, you know, there will be an occasion wherein students, they might have to figure out, you know, whether it's right or wrong. How should they do that particular thing? So in that case, as I said, they should be told, you know, all these things. They should be told, you know, how to access content. They should be told, you know, what do you mean by credible sources? What do you mean by authoritative sources? If it is education, they should know that, okay, NCERT is like one platform, their website. If you really want to consume good content, and of course like quality content, the YouTube channel is there. So these are the things which needs to be told to students. And in fact, this is the initiative which NCERT also had taken and the CBSE has taken. Recently, we worked on a textbook for CBSE, all the students from CBSE, and this is an elective, but this is on media and information literacy. So we are teaching students, you know, to how to access, how to verify content, and this is something, which this is a life skill nowadays.
Yeah, it's a life skill.
There are
absolutely.
countries wherein, media and information literacy is a compulsory subject. We don't have it right now in our country, but the thing is that we managed to integrate it with other subjects. We managed to, introduce it as an elective subject. So that is something which we have done.
And I think, ma'am, the content is literally influencing the way we are living our lives today, and youngsters are definitely more prone and more sensitive to the information or misinformation that's out there on the internet. So what, according to you, are some cognitive biases that can influence our perception of information?
See, the biases that can, affect our perception of information. For example, I mean, it could be ideological biases, right? And it happens, as I said before, we talk about, the content which is coming from, YouTube or like Facebook. Many a times, we feel very empowered that, I am deciding, what kind of content I'm consuming.
Yeah.
But see, it's not we are deciding, it's the algorithm which is deciding the kind of content which is actually pushed towards us or it is given to us. But yes, the algorithm is also deciding on the basis of maybe like once we might have gone to a certain website or twice we might have gone to certain website, right? And then they think that, okay, this is the right sort of content for us. And then that sort of content start coming to us, and that actually defines our own personality,
That's right.
our attitude towards that particular thing. So there are a lot of biases, there are a lot of, cognitive biases, like ideological biases are also there. So, and we need to be aware of those biases. So because if we have those biases, so definitely like, if the content will come, we'll tend to believe that.
Yes.
Even if it is wrong.
Even if it's wrong, yeah. So that has something to do with our own environment in schools, at home. I think it's not just the youngsters or the students who need to be educated about it, but even parents and teachers have an important role to play, and training programs like these can really help and benefit you in the same. So thank you so much, Professor Anubhuti, for your time and contribution to the session. It was indeed a delightful presentation. We learned a lot, and it was no less than a journalism class that you can take up in an institute. But here you again brushed up those skills, and those who visited us for the first time, they acquired some new knowledge. So that was our session under the umbrella theme of media literacy in this training program that we are having. And today we specifically talked about media and information literacy skills and competencies. With this, I'm wrapping up the session over here, but let me give you quick updates regarding the textbooks. They are available for grade 4 and 7 on Amazon, Flipkart and NCERT website. You can purchase your copies from there, and simultaneously you can take a quick look at the schedule, what's all coming ahead. So this is the list of programs that you have been watching since morning, and you can watch them again on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. And in a short while from now, you can watch our session Sahyog, where the topic is going to be emotional maturity, an asset for adolescents. With this, it's a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Namaskar.